Hey, everybody, it's Wednesday morning at 11 o'clock Central Time, and I'm Dr. John Sherk, and that means this is Brown Bag Lunch, where I'm bringing you everything I can to improve the lives of air conditioning technicians. So, what I want to do today is talk with you just a bit about a recent study that Gallup has published just from a few weeks ago, in which they studied, I'll explain this, they studied well being and physical health. Now, basically, the study took a little over 3,600 working adults over a 3-year period, and then compared um, 5 categories of well-being and the occurrence of a set of diseases. Okay, so the areas of five, and then I'll get to the relevance of all this, but the elements of well-being, by their definition, are career well-being, meaning you like what you do every day; social well-being, you have meaningful friendships in your life, right? Financial well-being, you manage your money well; physical well-being, you have energy to get things done; and community well-being, you like where you live. So you like what you do, your relationships are good, you're not stressed about money, you have the energy physically to do what you have to do, and you like where you live. Okay. Now, in their research, and these are specifically working adults in the United States, in their research, 9% went 5 for 5. In other words, 9% out of all 5 of those, as they tracked it, were thriving in all 5 areas. Okay. Somewhere between 2 and 4 were 47%, and in 1 or less were 44% of American workers. Now, there's no reason to think that air conditioning technicians would not normalize to that same percentage. So if you have a shop with 10 technicians, you can expect one of them to be doing great, and then a split of the rest that are doing great in a few areas, but a good, 4 or 5 of them are not doing that well. Now, they tracked with that then the diseases, 8 diseases: high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, depression, anxiety, back pain, insomnia, and suffering a heart attack. Now, these are all chronic diseases that have some degree of preventability involved. Okay. So, what they found was that the 9% that scored high in overall well-being obviously had fewer of these diseases. Out of every 1,000 full-time workers who are at that 1 or 0 range, the worst end of it range, out of 1,000, there were, in a 3-year period, 220 new diagnoses of new chronic illness during that 3-year period. And then they also drill down a little bit into cost, and they'll say that those people that are in the average healthcare cost for all Americans, like all in, is somewhere between $12,000 and $13,000 a year right now per person in the United States. And when they look at new healthcare costs, the people at the 9% range, the holistic well-being range, they were increasing healthcare costs at about $1,000 a year. The group in the middle was about $1,700 a year, and the group at the bottom end was over $2,000 a year in new healthcare costs per year. Okay, so I say all that to say these things that are soft, it's easy to look at things like meaningful friendships, liking what you do. They have hard consequences, hard results, meaning measurable, related to things like cost in dollars, and the dynamics that are created from that are not the kind of thing. If you're an employer out there, and I'm beginning to get feedback that the message is getting out there. If you're an employer of technicians, you simply can't ignore these things. You simply can't do it. It puts you in too much of a competitive disadvantage, even coming down to things like your healthcare costs. Because, they're not just going to take, I mean, your insurance, if your people are using it more, is going to get more expensive. Okay. So the costs related to healthcare for you go up at twice the rate than those people who have thriving technicians primarily. Okay. So now, none of these, you're not going to go across the company. Everybody's 5 for 5. You've got it all handled. But I do want to say, if you're a technician and you're hearing this, think from your perspective. If you are an employer or a manager, think from your perspective, what are my strategies here? When I talk about someone liking what they do every day, okay, technician, what is your strategy to get there if you're not there? Manager and company owner, what is your strategy to get a technician there every day? And how's it going? I mean, obviously, the first step is getting it on your radar and prioritizing it. Okay. Like if a technician doesn't like what they do every day, is that a safe conversation? If you're a manager, if a technician comes in and says, hey, listen, I just don't like what I do every day. Can we talk about it? What happens? Does the manager go, okay, let's talk about it? Or is it like, guess it sucks to be you? What you going to do about it? Life's hard for everybody, right? See, this is what I'm talking about. When are you at least, is the door at least open? And then I'd like to propose to you, managers and owners, that it's worth the time, the think time. And this can be evenings and weekends time. If you're an owner of a company, you and I both know your brain is on most of the time. So, meaning working most of the time. So keep processing this question. What do we need to do to get to the point where everybody in this company likes what they're doing every day? It has to do with building sometimes greater proficiency, sometimes what kind of work we go after. What's that? What does it need to look like? And by the way, obviously reach out to me. I love these conversations. It's what I do for a living anyway. So social well-being, you have meaningful friendships in your life. I have a client that probably puts a higher value on technicians than any company I've ever seen. And a few weeks ago, they took all 130 of their technicians on a fishing rodeo, and they all just spent a whole weekend together, just relationship building, just fishing, just having a good time together. Right now, why spend the money on something like that? Here's why. Because it's got positive ROI. That's why. That's how they make money, by taking care of those guys. And those events, yes, they're a symbolic gesture, but actual relationships get built and thrive in those situations. Okay. Financial well-being. I feel strongly that every company, every air conditioning company who cares about their technicians should put together some kind of personal financial management course. Dave Ramsey, somehow addressing the issues with them in a way that helps them get their life in order if they need it. Obviously, if your life is screwed up in this area, it's embarrassing to bring it up. So it's incumbent on the company to find ways to offer, and it doesn't even have to be on the clock, but some kind of company sponsored programming to help people get their money in order if that's what they need. Physical well-being, the doing what you can to promote and honor people who are getting a sleep study and getting a CPAP machine, who are going to the doctor, getting a base panel for their blood levels and where they're at with their cholesterol, where they're at with their blood pressure, like taking the initial steps. The good news here in terms of physical well-being is that a majority of the benefit comes from the small steps that come at the beginning. In other words, if you take someone who's doing nothing and you simply put them on good meds, blood pressure meds, maybe a statin for their cholesterol, that put them on meds and get them walking 3-4 days a week, just that much, which feels very kind of entry level. Like more than half of the benefit to the person comes from just doing that. They don't have to become marathon triathlete people, right? So like getting started in physical well-being is easy. Especially if you get started with sleep. If you listen to my content, you've heard me say this before. If you want to get started improving your physical well-being, start with sleep, because it's the easiest one to do, because while you're doing it, you're sleeping. I mean, It's not that hard, but it does help if the company is encouraging this, right? And then last, community well-being. You like where you live, being able to stay connected, your company connected to the community, finding ways to ask the question, do you like where you live, and being able to be responsive to it. I have another client, it's not air conditioning, and we just did some recruiting work for them, and someone in their testimonial video talked with a little bit of a lump in their throat about how they never thought they were going to have the money to buy a house, and now they just did. And it was working for that company that allowed that to happen or empowered that to happen. It's a moving video. Okay. So all of this to say, I encourage you to keep track of the Gallup content. If you simply go to Google and search Gallup and the word well-being being one word, you'll get the links that come up, and you can track with what their research is. They're putting it out. It's a publicly free service. And then these 5 areas, see if one of these is the one that you want to really grab and take on as a project from 2024, that we want to get better at helping our people like what they do every day more. We want to help our people have more meaningful friendships. We want to help our people manage their money better. We want to help our people have the energy to get things done, or we want to help our people like where they live. Because when you go 5 for 5, clearly the benefit is there, not just in terms of retention, which is no small issue, but also in terms of actual cost and net profit for the company. All right. My name is Dr. John Sherk. Listen, if these are things that are interesting to you and you want to talk more about it, jump into the social media channels with me. Be sure and get in my private Facebook group. Keep your ear out and listen to HVAC Joy Lab, podcast for technicians that has no purpose other than to create more and more conversations about what creates an interesting and thriving life for a technician. All right, we're done for this week. We'll see you next week.